Hello everyone, today I will introduce you to a research letter published in August 2024 in JAMA Internal Medicine, and which is called Women's Representation in RCTs Evaluating FDA-Supervised Medical Devices, and this is a systematic review. So my speech will have these contents, background knowledge, and in the article, we will discuss the methods, result, and discussion that researchers gave. And then we will go to my analysis, and we will have a conclusion and references also. So for the first part, the background knowledge, although I know most of you are familiar with clinical trials, I would still like to briefly explain what is RCT, and just in case maybe some of you don't know what it is. The RCT stands for Randomized Controlled Trials, and it is considered the gold standards in clinical research due to their robust methodology. And key features of RCT include the random allocation of participants to either the intervention group or the control group, minimizing selection bias and ensuring comparability between groups. Blending including single or double or triple helps reduce information bias and subjective influences on outcomes. So RCTs are particularly advantageous because they provide high quality evidence on the efficacy and safety of interventions by controlling confounding variables. Then we move on to the methods that the researchers did. So this systematic review evaluated women's representation in high-risk medical implant trials published from January 2016 to May 2022. The PRISMA reporting guideline was followed. So what it stands for? It stands for Preferred Reporting Items for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis. It is an internationally recognized guideline designed to help researchers systematically design, write, and report systematic reviews and meta-analysis, improving transparency and reproducibility. So as you can see in the left side, so here we can see a flow diagram. This flow diagram, it starts with identifying literature, which is collecting initial records from databases and other sources. Then they remove the duplicates and check if the studies meet the inclusion criteria. Finally, the number of included studies is confirmed, which is 195 trials, and data analysis is performed. So some studies were excluded for the reasons such as being non-type 3 devices, sex-specific devices, or even because they were not written in English. And the representation rate was calculated by women randomized divided by the total number randomized. If not available, then they will use women evaluated number divided by the total evaluated number. And the PPR stands for the person, and the PPR for the devices was calculated as the percentage of women participants divided by women with the intervention in the general population. And the method here, from the X2S to SPSS are all data analysis techniques which are highly specialized. So from a regulatory perspective, they are not crucial for us to understand. What matters is that they use scientific statistical methods and obtain rigorous data, which can provide a solid and strong evidence for us to think about an analysis. So let's move on to the result. In the 195 trials, most were conducted from 2013 to 2022. Cardiovascular and orthopedic devices were common device categories, and common device were stents, valves, and pacemakers. And in 152 trials, the comparator was another device. The number of women randomized was reported in 135 trials, and the number of women evaluated in 141. The percentage of women randomized ranged between 7% and 100%. The median is 33%, and IQR is 24% to 48%. The age of included women was reported in one trial, and the mean average age was older than 50 years in 175 trials. The median percentage of women included is presented in this table. So this is the most important thing. We can see the statistics shows the most common device, cardiovascular device, have the lowest statistics. And also the stent being the device with the lowest percentage. And no association was demonstrated between the number of randomized patients and the number of women included. And the PPR for most common devices was lower than 0.8, 0.77 for the stent, 0.76 for valve, 0.69 for orthopedic prosthesis, and 0.56 for pump trials. For the pacemaker trials, it was 1-0. And we can find here in this chart, there is no significant trend over time in the percentage of women included by the year of publication and the year of the trial start. So in the discussion part, we find that the women's inclusion in drug trials has improved in the past decades. However, trials assessing devices have been addressed less. And they found that the device trials randomized a median of 33% of women, and the PPR for the most common devices was less than 0.8, implying underrepresentation of women, as has been demonstrated in older device trials showing lower representation than drug or lifestyle interventions. So these results were found despite the US FDA's 2014 guidance addressing these issues. And recently, the Centers for Devices and Radiological Health issued a strategic plan for improving women's representation in device trials. The obstacles to women's inclusion include concerns about fatal consequence, underdiagnosis or under-referral of women, perceived recruitment challenges, and inclusion or exclusion criteria favoring men. And however, in the result, we can see actually in the including trials, the median age older than 50 years old. So actually the fatal concerns is impossible. But we found that the manufacturing devices to fit both genders maybe is a limitation. And the solution researchers gave is that equal enrollment of women to their share in the population with disease or planning a sample size that could detect gender differences. A study of the trials of FDA-approved devices found minimal differences in efficacy or safety by gender. And the most limiting step for women's recruitment is the screening stage. The higher awareness of physicians may improve enrollment. Women-led studies are more likely to include women. Stakeholders should consider implementing gender equity criteria for the researchers involved. And also the research said that this study has a limitation, which is the reasons for the underrepresentation of women could not be obtained. The proportion of women screened was reported in only 2 trials, and data on women retention in trials were not collected. And after reading this research data, I was thinking about the reason why we need to improve the representation of women in medical device clinical trials and how to improve. So I'm thinking about like, what if my mom, she would like to go to a clinical trials, but however, she can't. So what bother her? What prevent her to do that? Um, so I'm thinking about like, if we solve this problem, we can ensure the suitability of devices for women. We can ensure the efficacy and safety of the device to everyone, which is really perfect. And also, we will improve the design of medical devices by considering the needs and characteristics of women, because women consider a lot, which is also a problem that why women would not like enroll in the clinical trials, because the concerns about the safety and the concerns a lot in a lot of points. For example, if my mom will implant a high risk medical device, she was thinking about like, if she implants that device, could her life become a normal people, like return back to the normal time? Um, well, that device dis disrupt by the X-ray in airport or something. So they were thinking a lot, which is really a big issue, but also it's a good point because they will consider all of the parts in their life. So we will improve the design of the medical devices better. And in some way, it will promote gender equality. And also it will enhance the effectiveness of clinical trials. But how to do that? So my solution, in my opinion, is that we need to increase recruitment channels for female participants. And also we need to adjust clinical trial timing and locations appropriately. Why? For example, some of the women, like my mom, they will have the family responsibilities. On specific day, especially on weekend, she was thinking about stay at home to take care of my grandparents and I. So she can't move to a specific location to do the clinical trials. It's not the mission, but I think in their hearts, they have the responsibility for the family. So we can't to have a certain day to do the clinical trials. Maybe we can like serve these types of participants to adjust their time and location. It will cost a lot, but I think it deserves it. And also we need to train researchers to let them clearly introduce the safety or any issue it will get to the participants. And also, as I just introduced in the discussion part, the researcher said women that studies will include more women. I think the most important part is the design. So we need to increase female participation in clinical trial design, which is what we did now. And we need to, and for the government and regulatory authorities, they also need to establish gender balanced policies and regulations. However, we saw that FDA have a 2014 guideline, but it didn't work. Why? Because we need to combine with other solution because the solution is that we need to change people's mind, and people's mind is always difficult to change. So it is a really long and difficult, it's a really long term and difficult task for us. But I think the future will become better. So our conclusion is that women have been historically underrepresented in clinical research, and that is the big issue we need to be solved because when underrepresented in device trials, data on performance of devices in women may be lacking. So the data will not strongly prove of the safety and efficacy of devices for everyone. And it is a long-term task. And this is my references. Thanks for listening. Do you have any questions?